What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Danny the Bull, back with episode 2 of No Bull. And tonight I brought in a couple of superstars. We got Superstar Rob, Superstar Joe in the house, and King of Data, Omi Daily Burn, ODB in the house. What's good?
Stop it.
Everything's good, man. Everything's good.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for having us. I can't wait to talk about everything on the No Bull Show. I love the name. Great name, and
Great name.
Nice to see you doing this new thing.
Thanks. Yeah, I love just conversations with different people. And you guys are 3 people that I've never spoken to on stream, I don't think. So I know ODB, we never spoke on stream. And I don't think I've been on a stream with you guys unless it was on like Randy's channel.
I think you came on our channel once.
Oh, I did come on your channel.
with
That's
me
right.
once.
Yeah, when Rob was out, right?
I was probably gone at that time. Yeah, so me and you haven't crossed paths yet on stream.
Correct. So it's FA for a lot of things here, a lot of combinations, which I like because it just brings fresh dialogue into the space. So I don't know. I guess we got about an hour here. So first question, I guess, would be I wanted to touch on if you guys saw. I know ODB, you said you didn't see yesterday's Akomiverse. Joe saw most of it. Joe, what were some of your takeaways? Anything that's stuck out to you in terms of that talk with David Yu? We had him on Akomiverse yesterday.
Yeah, no, it was cool to see David come on to the show. I mean, you guys been doing that for a while. It's been like 40, 50 episodes or something like that, right? So it was nice to see. I know you guys tried to do it the day earlier or something, and then you guys were all on there and you had to all come back the next day, but ended up being worth it. I mean, whenever David speaks, it's something that people want to tune in and listen to. So, I mean, there was a lot of things that he talked about. I don't know if you want to go topic by topic or whatever, but
one thing, the first question was regarding, the first question I asked him was regarding edition sizes and how, we're in a bear market. He had mentioned the macro being, a big factor in terms of, sales declines and things like that. And I had mentioned edition sizes as a way to like compensate for that. Yeah. So what do you think about what he said there?
Yeah, I remember he mentioned something about how I guess the floor prices are lower, and he wasn't too happy with people listing below market price, and a couple things like about how there was some gaps between the listings. So after the first couple listings on the floor, then it really jumps up. But I really think that that's like a product of what the app is. I mean, right now everyone's on the app to play the game. They pull the slot. They try and get the secret rare on the drop. They try to get a good mid number, and if they don't, they throw it away to get as many gems as they can to go for the next one, because people don't have unlimited money and they're just trying to fund the itch or whatever you call it, right? The other thing is that whole thing about the gaps in the floor. I mean, we have that 30-day delisting. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's people that are just super undercutting. It could be that they undercut like the last price and then they got delisted after 30 days and then this gap opens up. But at the end of the day, it still wasn't selling for that price. So you got to remember, like these gaps there, they might just be there because they were the ones listed at whatever random time. It's especially the further away you get from the drop, you're going to start to see more variance, and you might get caught in it. Like you might see a gap up, and then you might say, "Oh, this thing's taken off," and then realistically, that might not be the true price because a bunch of stuff just got delisted and you didn't buy it when it was there in the first place. So I think a couple of things there maybe didn't really totally agree with. I think that it's macro is definitely involved in how the marketplace is acting for sure. I mean, people don't have that extra money at this time. The rates are the interest rates are going crazy, and we got inflation and all this stuff. So definitely that's affecting the marketplace. But in terms of people listing under market and all this, is going to happen until you give them a reason to hold, right? MCP, we have no utility yet.
It's an inefficient market. Like it's a complete, like it's a trap. Like if you think there's thin floors, I mean, we have collectibles out there that only have like 16 listings. Just because there's 4 of them at like, one price, and then there's a massive gap on the next price. If let's say one person decided to sweep the floor and then relist, I think undercutting would happen almost immediately back to wherever that market cap is. We do it a lot on our channel, right? We do a lot of price predictions, and we set our price predictions based on market cap analysis from relative collectibles similar in mint size, maybe also similar feel, And what you find is that even if a price does run up and you close that gap on that floor relative to other things in the market, it doesn't really make sense to buy it at that higher price when you can get something else which is more relative to all the other collectibles for, let's say, cheaper relatively based on market cap. So it's a myth that, if the floor is thin, you can run it up. I think I agree with David completely. Macro wise, there's no it's nothing like last year, right? Last year was crazy. Money was flowing in. There's discussion obviously about the gem scandals and how much that contributed as well to the bull run. We don't really know how much it really did. There was like $8-10 million in a row when back when Puddin' Cheeks had a spreadsheet and you could see the money in the primary sales coming in. I remember there was like an $8 million a day. It was crazy, right? So we don't know how much inflation was created by that. But one thing that I just also to add to this as a separate before anyone else jumps in is that I was the one that asked the question about Veveverse and will we be able to gate certain home spaces? So for example, Club 424, if I wanted to make a room for them, could I gate it so that the Veveverse can recognize your wallet before you get access into that space? I've always envisioned it this way, but I don't feel like I got really a good answer on that one.
Yeah, he didn't seem to give a lot of firm answers on Veveverse and said that that's really Dan's thing. ODB, you track a lot of the data on Veve and Omi and gem sales and things like that. What have you noticed in terms of trends? Have you been tracking it closely recently?
I've seen a slight trend up lately. I think it might be because the whole market is down in general and prices are low. So that's probably why. And maybe people are just putting more money into the app to kind of bring some prices up, I guess, maybe.
Yeah,
it's a possibility. I mean, it's just the only explanation for it. I mean, it could be a whole bunch of other different reasons. It could be also like certain drops are more popular. So.
Right. So on certain days, they're going to get more inflows of money, obviously.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
So do you guys think that lowering edition sizes to below demand would stimulate the market, or would that be like a temporary fix and what's really needed is a shift, a macro shift back?
I think initially, like maybe a couple months ago, maybe even a little bit earlier than that, it might have been a good idea because we didn't have so many things out in the app. Now you have so many different IP and so many different collectibles that if you throw out an edition size of 300, 200 now, I mean, you have 17 different ones that have that edition size now. It's not something that you could strategically, I think, work out here unless you're starting to do like really, really super duper scarce things and really good IP at the same time. Just to, I don't know, it's so difficult now. Like, I felt like back in they had an opportunity where people were starting to really exit, and because their prices were getting slashed and all that. But now I feel like so many people don't go for the drops. Maybe just incentive, like they start to do the incentives on the drops with the pencils and that type of thing. Like maybe incentivize them to go for those drops and put something else in there that you can keep the edition sizes where they're at. Because I mean, the more and more that you slash them now, the more and more you're going to have these scarce things that nobody really cares about. And we see it all the time in other mediums like physical. Not every scarce physical collectible is worth a lot of money, right? So it's something that I feel like that time has passed where they could have used that strategy, because now it's just so much saturation in the markets that I don't know if it will be effective at this point.
Yeah, I have something interesting here because I actually did a video on this not too long ago. If you want, you can quickly pull up my screen here. So the video was titled "What Makes Veve Great Now Will Not Necessarily Make Them Great Tomorrow." I wanted to have a different viewpoint on this because, like, we saw the potential Veve had in the last bull market. And they killed it, right? But there was a lot of factors. And at the time, it was years ago, there weren't as many competitors. It was kind of the only place that you can get this digitally licensed IP. And I'm not fully convinced that just being a gift shop per se will allow them to have necessarily proportional to the other companies the same level of explosive success. We see other companies now providing a little bit more utility, and you see that our Artifact was one of them, where they have, like they're giving utility to the actual collectibles in terms of being able to order Nike shoes. So we just don't know when that next bull run's going to happen. I think that Veve has a fantastic foot in the door to like really be explosive, it would just be nice if they had more utility that we can do with these collectibles. Because if you remember, by now we should have had a Veveverse that could have provided some utility, whether it be gamification. I mean, they're doing it a little bit with the Veve logo at parties, but that only happens maybe once or twice a year. So I think with the more utility, we probably will have a better chance on the next bull run to really go with that macro to like another level explosive. Not to say that the macro won't still help propel it. I mean, it's still going to obviously be helpful, but in combination with utility, when the new users come, they're going to want to go to Veve, which may be a digital collectible company plus more, rather than, let's say, another one that's offering collectibles that are licensed and this utility, right? Just another thought.
Yeah. ODB, have your buying habits changed in terms of like what's your, I guess, background when it comes to buying on Veve?
Personally,
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning towards, for the most part, leaning towards the comics in general. To put it that way. I mean, at least, but also just sticking to more of the Grail comics. As far as the collectibles go, I really don't go for any of them really that often. The prices are just too high, and there's really just not much to it really that appeals to me. You know, just like Rob was saying, as far as the utility goes, I mean, like you got to have the utility. I mean, the bull run that happened last time might have been a lot of users and things like that, but it wasn't really the 2.5 million users that it did have. So it was a lot less than that, and a lot of them were bots, and a lot of them were. It was kind of manufactured almost to a certain degree. These bots really, you know, we heard them before, and they were saying that, hey, I made X amount of dollars in Veve, you know, with all these bots and stuff, but the gem scandals and this and that, it was all just kind of like pushed and artificial is what I was trying to get at. Nowadays, I mean, like the only way to get to that point again is to kind of like, I think to drop editions for one factor and bring in the utility like we were talking about.
Do you guys think utility in Veveverse utility is enough and that'll do it because it gives you the ability to, you know, play with, manipulate, you know, the world and put things on display and interact with people? Is that enough utility?
If they do it the right way, I mean, they would have to make sure that people are in the Veveverse and playing around there and have things that people want to do. I mean, utility is only as good as the utility you give. So if it's going to be something where you can go watch something once in the Veveverse and then that's it and it's done, then no. But if they give you, like, maybe they'll do something like an SDK type of deal where they allow us to create games and us to create universes and places to do things, that'll take a lot of pressure off of them from creating it. But at the same time, if they let us gate those, like Rob was saying, let us gate that world, let us do what we got to do there. And then that makes people, our community might want to come into our world, the superstar world. And in there, you can do whatever stuff we bring up. But if they don't do it like that, and it's just like Veve stuff, like, okay, come in here and you can watch this drop together or something like that. If it's going to be like Discord 2.0, I don't know if people are going to really jump in there. I feel like they got to be really innovative here. This is what this is supposed to be. And I've said it before on our channel, it's VR. I don't see VR as the end game of this. I think AR is more of a way that this space and Apple Vision Pro and all of that's going to move forward. So, like, unless it's really, really special, I'm not going to spend my entire day in I got stuff to do. I'm in the real world. I have to go around outside. Like, I'm not going to be standing in my room with my goggles on all day.
Yeah.
So you got to integrate the real world too at that point.
Well, the geographic referencing probably won't be there available. We interviewed the Cavernous guys when we were at DCon, and we talked to them about that. So any kind of geographic referencing in terms of like putting a painting on my white wall, for example, and having people walk into the room and seeing it, he still said they're a couple years away. As the CEO of the guy offering the Veveverse, that tells you that they're not there yet to have that kind of function. I don't think one utility is enough to be the deal breaker for any digital collectible company or any company in this space at all. I think every layer of utility that you can add is going to slowly build up in the long run to bring in those new users. And I think Veve has a plan for that. They got leaderboards with MCP. That's a good idea, being able to use those points. They have the licensed IP, but we don't really have a good picture of how we're going to be able to interact with it in these other environments. The Veveverse has a lot of potential with the I think David called it the creative economy. So there is some potential there. Gamification is going to be massive. How are they going to do gamification? Is it going to be a passive gamification? Is it going to be an active gamification? We don't really know. I think Veve, they're pretty tight-lipped. They had a white pages back in the day, and I think that's kind of just out the door now.
Yeah.
So you can't use that anymore as what they want to do. And I don't really have a strong picture of what they want to do and how they're going to get there. I have an idea, and I think they're being very careful clarifying fully what their plans are. And I don't know if that's them being secretive to protect secrets or if they themselves are kind of figuring it out as they go.
I think they're hesitant to overshare now because of the backlash they've received from their communication style early on, where they were, over-promising and under-delivering, and now they're just kind of, that's my perspective.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were at DCon in November, and they put up a PowerPoint presentation with timelines Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 for the Veveverse, and literally totally just blew them away. And there obviously was a massive failure in communication for them to make that PowerPoint and actually present it publicly to be where we are today, exactly a year later, and just none of it was delivered. So yeah, for sure, they got to be super careful before they make any kind of deadline or guidelines of what they want to deliver.
I think they could share vision though. I don't think it hurts to share vision, to let people know, and David kind of hinted at it yesterday a little bit from what I saw, saying this is someone asked them something, are you going to specifically do this? I forget what they're talking about. And he's like, yeah, that would be part of the vision. And he mentioned again, Veveverse wasn't part of the initial plan, but now it is. I mean, I feel like updating your goals and that stuff doesn't hurt. It gives your user base confidence that you're working towards something that they want to do or they want to be part of. But if it's all hush hush and it's all based on speculation, and the more and more that people get burned on their speculation that doesn't come to fruition, then the less interested they're going to be. So I feel like you got to kind of give people a little bit of what you're planning to do. And even I understand the not sharing the Veveverse. It's maybe to do with certain things with certain IPs, but I feel like a picture here, a picture there, that cannot hurt. That's only going to help the community believe in it, that it exists. You know what I mean?
Yeah. ODB, you said that Veveverse utility would not be enough. You don't think it's enough. What do you think? What utility do you think are you looking for?
It needs, right now, you have basically the gold and silver logo, right? That is the ultimate utility in the app right now. Is pretty much almost the only utility in the app, and you see the prices going up from that, right? It went up from $1,500 down to $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, and it dropped down after the party and such. But that is is proof. It kind of shows you. It's this is where you bring utility to something, and actually, the prices do rise. Not everything is about the price, but it is, the market does decide hey, what is what people are interested in and this and that. So, but the thing is the main thing that Veve should probably do at this point, I would say, the best thing would be to generate generate utility, generate transfers, the crafting like that. If they could do stuff with the crafting with the comics like they were talking about for so long ago, that would reduce a lot of the supply that's currently in the market. Right now you have about 8-9 million NFTs in there, and it's getting bigger every single day almost. You have another drop here and there for whatever it may be. There's only so much that can go around. There's people, if you aren't bringing that many more people into the app, then things are not going to be growing with the app. So the KYC is holding a lot of people back. They moved it back, but it still hasn't opened up even after the con. So if bringing in that utility about at least with, it should be pretty simple, I would say, just the variant cover maybe of a comic, burning this and that, the common and uncommon and the rare would get you X, and it would also reduce supply of the other ones and actually probably prop up the prices. As far as the collectibles go, I mean, the Veveverse utility, just looking around at your collectibles, I don't think it's just enough of having a showroom and having people visit. I know that's kind of phase one thing, and it could be, but if it's too long, if it's going on for months and months, and then a year goes by, then you're gonna start seeing like things that we just saw, that like, you know, prices start going down, and a lot of people just lose patience. So you gotta like iteratively like give this stuff out, like push this stuff out, and kind of give people a taste of something they get excited about, or else it's just gonna, people are just gonna be like, this thing is going nowhere, and I'm gone. You know.
You can imagine as well. Speaking of utility, what would happen to Omi with a little bit of utility? It's not really traded too much.
Yeah.
We did a video on this recently as well, on how like any bit of utility can really make it fly. You just have the Veve. I don't have this one pulled up this time, but I could pull it up though. But like you saw that already with the last spike. They talked about you only just getting a little bit of utility with the 10 million in the app, and it just flew. Because it's just like sort of illiquid. There's not a lot of trading with it. And then obviously one person could just sell a lot of it. It can bring it down to the downside as well. I think that like if utility is king, if they can actually deliver on Omi utility, I think we can see some really good things from where it is right now on Omi token.
That shows the whole marketplace, Veve and Omi though too, right? If they say anything about any collectible on any format of Twitter or Spaces or Discord, if David has a picture of something that looks like something in the app, that thing flies because of the liquidity. And it's because of, like you mentioned, there's gaps in the market because of the delistings. So these are things people got to be aware of. You got to be careful when you're playing these markets, because I mean, you got to know what's happening. You got to do your research, look at, why is this thing pumping? There's probably a reason at this point. Like ODB said, there's millions and millions of items in the marketplace now. So something you got to be aware of for sure.
Yeah, Omi utility. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go. You're my guest.
I mean, like with Omi, when it comes to that, like it's very like not much liquidity with that. Anything can really move it. You've seen a lot of these whales actually moving on Omi onto the exchange. Even saw them like last week, a big move to the exchange, a couple billion or something. But it just a little bit, like, you know, when the OUP first came out, that thing skyrocketed. All right. When you're talking about, you know, the 10 million in the app, I mean, the 10 million in the app, that could have been done at any time in the past 2 years. You could have offered them the MCP for it. I mean, the MCP came out earlier in the year, right? So they could have done it at the exact same time along with it and kept a little bit of momentum. It's not going to be, you know, the points were probably not going to be there right away, but they could have probably offered something to kind of give a little a small improvement, just to kind of push something, I guess. So, you know, just small improvements in the app, like you saw before. Like we got the search bar, we got these other things like fix, you know, and little steady improvements every single week, every month, whatever, something. But if it's kind of going stale and there's not really anything, any new news or anything going on, that's when you, you know, things, people just start, I don't know what to say.
Getting bored or getting frustrated.
Yeah, basically like that. I mean, with the crafting, like the main thing Veve should do, you get 2.5% of sales, right? The second on the market, right? The crafting is basically a big thing that facilitates trade. So that's basically like pushing the trade of that and actually making the market move. That should be, you know, their goal, I would say, right? You know, getting the higher the price, the more the 2.5% is worth. The more trades you make back and forth between other people and buys and sells, the more they're getting paid there too. So that should be their goal as a company, right?
Yeah. You know, one thing that David said yesterday, another question that I asked was about the Veveverse and what the Omi token would look like within it, how much it would be integrated in there. And he's kind of hesitant about it. And, you know, there's a lot of regulatory concern. One thing about Veve, I think that their greatest attributes on the Omi side of things, their greatest attributes are like all their partnerships, right, with all these big licenses and their real world revenue. Because in crypto, a lot of these coins don't generate any revenue, right? They're not based on anything that's, you know, that you can put a value on, but they generate real world revenue. So that selling point also hinders them because they're trying to protect the Veve side of the business. And I think that they're scared that the OMI side threatens it, right? Because they're worried about the regulatory landscape. And so they're worried about going full force with OMI in Veve, when if we were talking about Decentraland, Sandbox, there's no mistaking that those coins are the coins of the chain or whatever. They're the foundation of the whole project.
Let's ask a question.
Yeah.
If Disney comes to David, you and Dan and says drop the OMI token, what happens?
He can't do it. I don't
So they
think
drop
sure?
Disney? Does he drop Disney?
he has to.
Ultimatum.
I think you bring up a really good point, though. They're kind of in this weird situation where when the whole idea started with the OMI token, right? And they're kind of in this weird situation where they're concerned about the regulatory part, but at the same time they have to please the original people who came here with the belief of the OMI token. And they have incentives still. The owners still have billions of these tokens.
Correct. Yeah.
So they still have incentives to make it work, and they are treading carefully that line of how can you produce value on the OMI token without compromising the Veve app. They talk about the synergies between MCP and OUP. By the way, you can bring up my screen now. I pulled up the video. The title of this video was this one thing can change everything for the OMI token. And it was the obvious. It was stating the obvious. It was utility, right? The utility will make it. I'll just caution, though, it's not all, beautiful, blue skies. At the end of the day, there are billions of these tokens around. So it wouldn't be difficult for somebody during a bull run to then release billions of supply that they were holding back into the people who are getting into this bull run now when it starts taking off. Just something to point out.
I mean, it doesn't matter if there's billions of them out there. What matters is how many people are holding those billions. If it's 1,000 people holding the billions, then it's a problem. If it's 1 million, then it's a different story. So it depends on the number of holders.
Here's another one. What if it's Marvel that says it? And you lose your entire comic market? What happens?
Well, I think that you can't. I mean, you can't. If you
I
sold
think
the
you can.
token based on a certain whatever understanding, I don't think you can't just abandon it. Then they'll face lawsuits.
The problem is what if the SEC says something?
That's another story.
Well, then what can they do?
What if they're the spark
that's-
of Disney and Marvel saying like, yo, we can't be associated with this?
That's the problem that they have is if they didn't have the OMI token right now, they'd probably be in a better place and it would be a lot easier. But they're in a difficult place because of that. But then again, they could still make it work. I'm not saying that they can't do it. And it could be a whole marriage of the OUP and then the MCP and even SUP added in there as well. So
What's SUP?
they can make you can add that in there in the app and actually gamify a lot of things and actually make it a dream app where you have all of these things and be able to burn all these collectibles and create new ones and then have the gamification in the Veveverse and everything. And that's what the dream is. It's just the execution. What's going to come first and what's going to get it? What are we going to see soon? I mean,
Yeah, it's difficult to even comment on this because we don't actually really know what the laws are. Like, we don't really understand how the regulatory aspect can truly impact Veve itself. We can only speculate, right? So there's obviously a risk when you don't know for sure. There's a risk that comes with it.
Yeah. Early on, they had OMI to NFT, right? Then they shut it down. And that was the main purpose of the whole OMI token going through the user's account, and it was a kind of like a broken system or whatever it was. But having the OMI is not a horrible thing. It did bring in a lot of people into the app, and it bring a lot of attention too. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to have that.
No, it just complicates, I think, them as a company. They have to tread a little more carefully, which makes it frustrating for some OMI holders, right? Because you got to wait a little longer, or sometimes because they're not going full force ahead because they don't want to compromise the overall health of the company. But ODB, of all the burning mechanisms, which do you like most?
I mean, the current ones.
from OUP that were laid out of the perspective ones.
Does that even apply anymore though? They
Yeah,
got rid of it.
well, they're still good. I mean, their OMI to NFT is still on the table. You've got the staking and the MCP part of it, staking for MCP points, bronze tickets, OMI to accessory. So I mean, these things are still on the table and still part of the roadmap.
Yeah.
What are the bronze tickets get you?
Bronze tickets are, you buy bronze tickets and you can get extra chances at a wait list, which right now during this market is not very valuable, right? Because not unless it's a huge drop. If there were a huge drop, like the Captain America #1 comic or whatever, I can see people buying 20 tickets to get multiple chances or whatever.
Yeah, if there was an AF-15 coming up, but there isn't.
Correct.
It already dropped.
Right.
And there's the X-Men. It's like, how many comics are left that are coming into the app? That's, they're kind of dropping them all, right?
Yeah, so what rails are
not too many of them.
You got Banksy coming up, though. Banksy will be, I think,
all right.
in demand.
Maybe like a premium, like a collectible. Could be like $1,000 one. I don't know, something like that. But
tough market for bronze tickets is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, for the bronze tickets, only the NFT is the best one because using crypto, basically people would be buying the OMI to get into Veve instead of going through, buying it through your credit card or whatever it may be. So you can actually use like whatever you had ETH and you sold it for the OMI and you'd be able to buy something with it. So it could bring a lot of extra money into the app, a lot easier. That could be a big deal, and part of that gets burned. So that would be the nicest one, I would say.
Yeah,
the bronze tickets, I mean, unless without the grails and stuff like that. I mean, like if it's specific here, if they had a really great collectible with a really scarce, like, you had the black and gold Iron Mans right now, they had 50 of them. The #1s are out there. That's where you use the bronze tickets. Yeah. If they drop that kind of, drop. But then again, there's only 50 of them out of 3,000. So.
Yeah, but you'd have thousands of people going for them.
Yeah,
and
if it was by itself,
buying up the tickets, right?
Yeah.
Pull up my screen when you get the chance. It's very applicable to this discussion because we were talking about like the burn. So this is gone now. You can't find this on the OMI token portal, but I did a video on this a while ago, unlocking the secret to Veve OMI burn rate.
Yeah.
Where I talked about all these burn streams. So this is a reminder because every time you ask me, I forget. So just as a refresher, okay, we got fast track. So that back then they had an idea with OUP, right? So there is the tiers in the OUP, which might still exist with synergies with the MCP. They're probably going to be related to some capacity, right? They're going to be related somehow. And you can pay to get to a tier, and all of that OMI would be burned. So that's one way. Another way is early unstake. So if you stake your OMI to get a certain tier, you can actually early unstake, and 100% of the withdrawal penalties, because you have to pay a penalty to get out of the staking, that will then be burned. You have bronze tickets, which will be used to get extra chances at drops. You have OU peer-to-peer. So there's buyer fees. So if you're buying OMI from someone else, you have to pay a fee. That would then be burned. And then they also have OMI to gem. They said all of the 100% of the OMI to buy gems will be burned. That could be a big one, right? Because you can buy gems now with OMI. So instead of just using your US dollar to buy gems like people are doing right now, that could be a heavy hitter because people who like OMI will just purposely buy OMI with their USD, then buy gems with it just to burn OMI. So that's
specifically when the price of OMI goes up and you're sitting on, there's so many people now sitting on millions of OMI tokens. And even if it goes up to half a penny, which is below, the 0008 local top of last cycle, people would have a lot of money there to burn.
Yeah, you sure the OMI to gems actually burns the OMI?
Maybe I'm misunderstanding this. It says here,
OUP. That's possible.
It says OMI to gem, and then there's a stream here. It says 100% of OMI buy gems. OMI to buy gems. That's what it says here.
It goes to the reserve.
Yeah, because you get the gems, but like where you'd be able to use those gems to buy another collectible. I mean, the gems have to be created to some degree.
Yeah.
So
Backed by something, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I'm reading this correctly.
I
So,
don't. This came out so long ago that I forget the.
oh, yeah,
detail.
forget it,
There's
guys.
So much of it.
Don't even try to remember it.
100%.
I get confused. I get lost in it every time I even think about it. According to this on the left, it says OUP peer-to-peer seller. 100% of the seller fees go to the OB to Gem pool. It's a pool. I remember talked about
Those are
this.
the seller fees.
It's
Right?
Omi to
Yeah.
Gem pool. It was up to $1 million. I remember.
Yeah.
And then that pool will fund Omi to Gem, and then that gets burned. It's something.
Yeah. So it was about like 2.5% or whatever it is going into the
Right.
pool, and I think that's, according to Reese, it's actually being built right now. It's actually like generating or whatever it is. It's being accumulating.
Right.
So that is accumulating right now. I don't know where it's at right now. So we, as far as tracking it,
Right.
it
It makes sense. They'll get a pool from fees, and then that fees will then be used to grow. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to burn like the whole lot of the OMI.
Right. Anyways, that was just a refresher, because every time I and that's gone off the website. I asked Putin about it, and I don't think it's off the table, but we're going to probably see maybe variations of this.
Yeah.
But I think until they produce like a new guidance, I think all of this is still in flux of what exactly it's going to be.
They talked about synergies. I mean, Mitch has been pretty clear. He wants MCP to be the way, and then OUP built into MCP. But this goes back to earlier discussion. I mean, it'd be nice to know an idea of what the plans were, because the last plans we have is on Rob's video there, and it seems like it might be completely different, and a lot of other things are in the works. So people are buying the token, but they don't even know exactly how it's going to work or what's going to happen. And it's changed 6-7 times now since the first person bought it, so it's completely different now. I think they should come out and clarify like more of these synergies. It doesn't hurt to say like this is what we're planning to do with it. I mean, we know it's not coming #soon, so just let us know like what's changed since Mitch came on, and besides the fact that you can put some in your app and get some more points that you can't do anything with yet.
It's probably going to change 6-7 more times too. So
I think this is what it is. It's like a work in progress. So it's not really
all of it is. Yeah.
I was actually heavily criticized on this video by none other than, if you pull up the screen, let's pull it up here. Omi Daily Burn himself. He says, I think that's a little bit too much burn, Moon Boy. So because I was trying to predict the burn, right? I was trying to predict the burn in this video. So
you can't predict the burn. It's just impossible. So don't even try. You're just gonna make yourself look like a fool.
There you go.
Only daily variables,
Moon Boy.
I mean, how are you going to predict something and you don't even have the whole rule set in there? I mean, you can predict percentages and things like that. And for what he did, he used available information and that's what he got. Tried to project it out. It's great, but it's still going to change like 6-7 more times, and there's going to be so many different factors. And they might only release one feature this month, and then another feature 2 months, 3 months later. And you can't predict that either. So it's just so hard.
They got to have an idea of 1 or 2 things that they're going to do, though. You can't just be like, okay, we're going to wipe the floor again and start over. Like, you have to have an idea. You can't just be rebuilding it all the time.
With that kind of math, you honestly do need like an economist for real. And he was kind of laughing at some person mentioning that before. But you kind of do, because it's an economy, really, in the MCP points, so OEP, and OMI, and the gems even, and like be able to keep those gems in the app, because the more gems there are, the higher prices are, and the more value. Because the market was like almost a 2 billion. It was worth like 2 billion gems, right? $2 billion before, like at the height. I believe I was looking at like last week, and then recently I think I was looking at it was 200 million. Or just under 170 or something like that recently, and that's with a whole bunch of other new drops coming in as well. So I mean, there's a lot of factors going in, and you kind of have to, all these drops are coming out, they're selling for like $40, and then it's dropping down to 30 right after the sale. Even like the secret, the only one that really going up is the secret rare. It's sometimes even only a little bit, but like the other parts of the drop are really going below retail, and it's just because of the large additions, I think, and or the user base.
I think it's really pie in the sky stuff right now because we have no history. So like we know all the different burn potential streams. Actually, we don't know anymore because it got pulled. So they're gonna come up with some kind of examples of how you can burn OMI. When it's actually implemented, we can get an idea of how much they actually can burn in a year.
Yeah.
So that's why I just created a matrix of like, okay, let's assume they can do an average of 11% per year, 12% per year, just to see how sensitive it is. And at the end of the day, I'll tell you right now, predicting the price is almost impossible because you have billions of supply and and as it gets more and more popular and more liquid, like you're not going to do it. I do think though, you probably have slightly better of a terrible chance to predict burns when things are actually implemented and we start seeing historic burn rates on some of these things. Right now, it's just like throw that dart and let's just see where you land, right? That's you can pull it down.
You kind of look at it and having like the OMI NFT and having like the arbitrage opportunities with that, it could be huge, and it could be a huge gamification for it. Just having that feature. It also burns OMI as well on top of it. So it's like just having that one piece could be a game changer for a lot of people and a lot of things. So I know it'll prop up the price of OMI quite a bit.
Yeah. What do you want to see out of OMI for the next, like now, crypto's running. Solana's at like $46 today. Bitcoin hit 35,000.
Oh, wow.
Everything is kind of moving except for OMI. Right. And, whenever that happens, and this happens, you'll see this, right? Because OMI is so insular and so it's like community driven and it's not really out known in the wider world. It's not really traded. What needs to happen, do you guys think, for OMI to take off next bull run and do make the moves that people expect?
Who's first? Want me to go first here? I think utility is the only thing. I think
how much of the utility do you think they need to get out?
I think they need a fully functioning OUP program to at least give it a chance to get that fuel to start, going to the moon, right? Like the thing with OMI again is it's predicting prices is like, just don't even bother. Like we're not dealing with, like a company in the stock market that produces, it's actually productive and it actually produces, income, right? Like this is just a token that's supposed to be a utility token, which hasn't come yet. I think it has a lot of potential when it does have utility and we have demand, manufactured demand through, let's say, the Veve apps, through the Veveverse, where people are starting to buy it for use cases. I think you definitely have a chance, all relative, to maybe do better, right? Once people actually want this stuff to use it for something. But like to predict a price, it's going to be very difficult because it might go up and then some whale, like you said, OMI daily burn. I don't think there's a million people with a billion OMI, right? I think it's a very small group of people that have a lot of OMI. They can really control that price and still bully that price for now. But I'm not even going to try to predict like how far to the moon or if it's even going to go to the moon. I just know that with utility, it at least gives it the fuel to have a chance to go to the moon.
Well, even without utility and people looking at the brands and stuff associated with Veve and if there is a bull run in the broader crypto market, people start looking at all these altcoins and these little coins, and you get one person or one influencer talking about it, and they don't even know what the heck they're talking about or what it is. That could create a pump. Is that pump sustainable without utility? I don't think so. I think once people realize what's happening, that's when it'll come back down. But you could ride a wave. I mean, there could be a wave that comes in with any of the hype that comes with the next bull run. But sustainability and if it will stay up there, I think you need to have the program in place because then you're going to want to keep the people around who find the token, right? If they have no reason to stay, they're going to sell it, move on to the next thing because that's what these meme people. You don't want to be the meme coin. You want to be a coin that people want to use and understand what they're gonna implement it and have to, like, if you don't have the program and you just keep wiping the slate every 3 months, 4 months, okay, we're doing it like this now and now just like this. That's not what people want to hear. Especially the serious people with the big money.
Yeah, you need a rock solid program. You need to put it out, and you need to be like weeks away from actually implementing it or already implementing it and actually proving that you are implementing it, because there's so many NFT and actually building a balance of burn wallet or the million gen pool. I mean, if we saw an actual calculator or something actually increasing as things are being sold and going through that, then that'd be kind of nice. But like the OMI is going to have its day when they do have the Veveverse out, and everybody's going to be able to go in there, and you're going to be able to use OMI to buy certain things in there to actually do something, either buy land or to buy accessories or to buy OMI to turn on the lights. I mean, something like that. It's like, hey, you want to keep your lights on, you got to spend 100 OMI or something like for that month or something.
That's like a literal utility token, right?
Like literally utility for your utilities. Yeah.
Turn on the utilities.
But like that's what they were talking about before. It's like, hey, we're gonna have accessories. They're gonna be Veve branded or whatever it may be inside your showrooms, and be able to buy racks and this and that. And that OMI is gonna be the one that's burned. Because if they create something themselves with no brand on it or no IP, then yeah, you can use that OMI, burn it. But Dave is not going to be really talking about OMI at all until that utility is out there. It's too much of a regulatory problem right now, where it's just he's not going to be bringing that stuff up and talking about it too much. That's why he's like hush hush. A lot of things, and it's also we don't know what's going to happen really with everything. So that's where we're at with it. But like with the Veveverse, if they'd be able to bring something like that out, be able to actually create worlds, if they're able to create a whole world in there where we can create something and actually use that OMI to do something in that world, and bring other people in there who would actually spend that OMI that would be able to generate revenue for you. If you create a platform to make money for other people, like YouTube creates it for their people, right? For monetization and other apps as well, like OnlyFans or whatever it is, whatever it may be, you create something for other people, a platform, right? It's a platform that you can make money, right? Whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. Keep laughing. It's still, you can make a lot of money with it. So that's where you're going to draw a lot of people.
Yeah. How important are exchanges?
Just like Veve was bringing a lot of people early on because people were making a fortune.
Yeah. You think they can do it without exchanges?
I think they want to do it in the app, no? Isn't that where they want most of the buying and selling to happen?
It's going to be in the web app, not in the mobile app.
Yeah. The web app.
We'll see. I think they'll be able to buy it in the app, but that means you're going to bring a lot of OMI into, and they're going to sell it themselves. I don't think that's exactly legal, because that's going to be an exchange.
Yeah, they'll have to have like.
They're technically an exchange at that point, so they're going to have a third-party carrier for that.
Third party.
I don't completely disagree with Reese though. Like we asked him in an AMA when we had Reese on our channel about big exchanges, and I know this is something that has been an ongoing discussion now for at least a couple years. Especially a lot of OMI holders want to see this on large exchanges. I think it's a good thing. Again, it's like layers of utility, right? The easier access that you can make the OMI token, the better. But I feel like you got to walk before you run. So I'm not as I don't personally feel as urgent about big exchanges because there's no utility. Yeah. So I think it's fine to not have a big exchange when you have no utility to offer anyways. And then so what all you're doing at that point is just giving easier access to the OMI token to really do nothing with it. So I think that when let's walk first before you run. Let's get OMI working with some utility within the app, and then you can get it into the big exchanges and find any layers of ease of purchase that you can. Only once you get utility like it's supposed to be, like in the OUP, for example, as they promised.
Yeah, big exchanges right now are not going to do anything for the token. It might pump. Okay, fine. It might get manipulated. It might have more liquidity maybe on those exchanges, but it's really not going to do much for you. It's just going to be a pump and done. Again,
it'll be a meme.
It'll bring bad blood to whoever those people. It could it could be a problem just doing that. And but if you brought the utility in there and you actually had tokenomics for it, because right now you don't have tokenomics for the coin. It's basically just a coin or a token or whatever it may be, and there's nothing to it, but there's a promise of doing something with it with OUP. So bringing that utility first, integrating that with MCP, integrating that within the app, actually putting it with the Veveverse, then popping that on exchanges, along with having the OMI NFT, along with having the OMI in the app and all this other staking and everything, putting that all together in that whole plan, throw it on an exchange after that, then you'll be happy.
Yeah, the
until
vision
then,
is
it's
there.
just really, the vision's there. It's just execution.
Well, when you get any other altcoin, what do? You go to that website, you look into it, you look for the white
Yeah.
paper, you want to see what it's
We don't
about.
have
How
that right now.
we don't have that. So what are they looking for when they have it?
I mean,
Right?
you can look at the old
Yeah,
one.
That's
but it's
true,
not
but
not the
crypto
same.
is such an irrational space that Mana and Sand pumped to multi-billion-dollar market caps last cycle
Yeah.
and stayed there for a while with absolutely nothing going on in their ecosystems. So it's true, but in terms of a crypto bull run, a coin can pump and remain there just based on narrative and sentiment.
Yeah, but you got to have that narrative. I mean, like right now it's just you don't even have it written down really. I mean, you have the token portal and everything like that, but it's there's no time frames with it. I mean, they said everything's going to be done by the end of the year, which is like
Yeah, I know, that's
60
wild.
days. 60 days.
Yeah.
Where you don't have any of it really, except for like the staking maybe. But like,
Little bit.
I hope they can bring out some of it by the end of the year and actually have some of it put together. But like, it might be delayed a few months. It might be delayed another year. But like, it's once it is done and integrated, it would. I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty sweet.
Yeah, you guys good? Another 10 minutes. You guys good for?
Yeah,
we're good. And I was going to add to that just to say, like, I can't deny that if the macros really start going and money starts coming into the NFT space, I don't see any reason why a piece of that pie wouldn't go to Veve, and then as people discover Veve, then go to Omi. So I can't. I don't think there's definitely something to be said about being able to capitalize on that piece of the pie when there's an influx of money if the macro does really start to boost like in 2020. But I think it's a more competitive space now. I think you can't ignore the fact that it's a more competitive space, and that maybe the proportion of the money going to Veve as part of that kind of ecosystem of all the digital collectible companies. I think now that it's going to be more difficult for them to get the same kind of impact that they did in 2020. It's just more competitive. And the bull run's not here yet, anyways, though. So they still have time.
I would say that the pie would get cut in pieces now, but the pie might get bigger, right? Because it's more established, space.
Yeah, I agree with that. You could definitely have now the new waves that come in might be bigger for sure.
And people won't be just attracted to one project. They might want to be in multiple projects. Like it's going to be something like if it's going to be like the internet, like we all think Web3 is going to be something that's integrated. I mean, you have an email on multiple, you have Gmail, you have Outlook, like you have all these different platforms. I think
Hotmail.
Hotmail, right? And you're gonna have people who are gonna be in multiple projects too. So I mean, there's gonna be overlap. It's not gonna be just like I'm only in Veve. There's gonna be people. I'm only in Veve. I'm only in Cryptoids. I'm only in McFarlane. But there's gonna be a lot of blending, and there needs to be that has to happen for the space, at least in terms of digital collecting. The token, I feel like right now we're talking about it. It just seems completely separate. So I mean, if you're gonna tie it to that and use it as like the rocket fuel, then I mean that pie is going to grow.
They're not going to be able to put the Omi in the actual mobile app at all. Like I don't think visually either. Like you can have it on the web app right now. You can actually see your MCP and actually your balance on there. I don't think they're going to be able to even show it if I'm mistaken. But they need to. If this is a real bull run coming, and like you got the halving next year and things like that going on next year, I mean they got to really execute. They got to hit it now. They got to move and really capitalize on it like they did the first time.
What are your expectations realistically for end of the year? Do you think that they'll get out the next phase of beta testers for Veveverse, which Dan said was like 500 to 1,000? Do you think they'll get out bronze tickets? Do you expect any accomplishment on any of these things that we've been waiting for, MCP points?
Veveverse, yeah. I mean, they can get that out with a click of a button, really, if they wanted to. And they said they were going to do it in the next few weeks. So that's not really, I don't think that's a question.
David said a fortnight. What's a fortnight again?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah. So I think
even Dan said the same thing, something like that.
Maybe they got Fortnite on board. No.
Yeah.
I think Veveverse will get that next beta out. You start to see more people talking about it. I from what I saw from that interview with you, Danny, I'm not too convinced we're going to see much on Omi token by end of the year.
I don't
Probably, I don't think
think
so.
so.
Yeah, so I
Maybe
don't
first
think.
half of next year, maybe.
Yeah,
Which is, they don't have to. I mean, we have time, right? The halving is, if we're looking in terms of capitalizing on the next run, right, for Omi token holders, there's time. But as you get closer and closer to that halving, the frustrations are going to ramp up. You see the anxiety starting now when it's just like the very beginning of things pumping a little and Omi's kind of flat. They're going to hear the voices of frustrated people on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't like, and again, like it may eventually spill over, but I really believe from what we've seen, like the current Omi holders know that when they inject utility into this token, it just needs a small announcement.
Yeah. It'll go.
He's a spark, man.
Yeah.
And that's
They
the
know
thing.
it's a
That
fly.
spark and to let that thing go. Yeah, like you've seen it before. You get that little inkling, a spark of anything, and that thing can move. Because there's really like nothing holding it back, except for these whales trying to push the prices down and buy more. So,
yeah. What do you think in terms of arbitrage? Omi doing well next cycle, even if it goes to half a penny or a penny, 2 pennies, what that does to Veve floors?
I don't know. Would you rather have Omi when it's moving like that, or would you have the collectibles? I mean,
well, think about
it's going to go up and down. It's going to balance and move, and that's it's going to go up and down. Everything's going to be moving, but I don't
it's
think
going to be a game. It's going to depend on how many people are in here.
Of it, yeah.
If there's going to be the same amount of users you have right now, it's going to be heavily manipulated. If it's going to be,
but the thing is, once the prices move up, people come back or are attracted to it, and then that creates a wave.
Yeah,
it's just, again, it's just tough to comment on that. Like, we don't know if it will hit a 0.005. I think at the top, at the high end in the bull market, it was 0.007 at some point, or 88, right? It hit those
0.008, yeah,
1.3.
So one could say, well, we've seen in the past it was able to hit that all-time high.
Well, went over a penny at its all-time high.
Yeah. Sorry, let's just talk about like that kind of like micro level. That local level, right? It's hit that before, and someone could say it even hit a penny before. Yeah. So it can hit it again. I just think that it's just at this point, if you're buying the token, I think that these current levels, it has held it for a long time. Maybe you're a bit of a technical guy. I think with some utility, you might be able to walk away with it, but it's very difficult to comment on price with Omi with the amount of tokens that there are. You buy it with an understanding that you're still doing something extremely risky in the sense that there's no utility, and we don't know if ever they're going to deliver on it, because it's been forever. They keep delaying. I can understand why Omi token holders are so anxious and getting so impatient, because they know that they need this so desperately to get this utility, and it just keeps being the last priority from the Veve team. So hopefully we'll see it soon.
I just think they're actually trying to implement the MCP and OUP, trying to put it together and make those synergies right now, and trying to package it all into one box and then deliver it. And that's probably what they're doing behind the scenes. And on one side, I'd rather kind of see like iterative development and kind of, pieces of it kind of brought out, every other week or something like that. On the other side is like, hey, if they drop all of it all at once, then you'll see an explosion of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, as hopes,
Yeah, I mean, again, I see Jordan's comments. We know Jordan's a big fan of Omi, and he's a big believer. And I guess that to assert the 10x, none of us can know for sure, right? So you have to just keep that in mind. I can't do a price prediction because I just don't know, right? It's a guess. That's at the end of the day.
That's not all anyone can do in any of this stuff, right?
Yeah, there's no chance on price prediction, but burn prediction, you've done it, and you've done it very well.
But the thing is with the burn prediction is that it's hard to associate. Like, I tried to burn it, and then I try to associate with the price, and it's just so dynamic right now, and there's so little information.
I mean, think about it this way: you've got 310 billion Omi right now in circulation, right? Before, when it went to the bull market, it was over a penny, 1.3 cents, I believe. But that was like before everything got unlocked. as well. That was one big factor. And it was being pumped by influencers or whatever it may be at the time. But yeah, going with that, and like I've lost my train of thought.
I like that you said pumped by influencers. That's
Yeah.
Bring them
It was
back.
pumped by
Bring them back.
influencers. We
Bring
know
them
that.
back.
We know that. We know what's going on.
Yeah, we've been on for an hour. I know I'm mindful of your guys' time. You said you got about an hour. So I want to thank you guys for coming on. It was a great discussion. I only asked like 2 of my questions. It was like a natural thing. So thanks again. Any parting words for everyone in the chat? If you're not, I'm sure you're already subscribed, but subscribe, follow their channels. They both got YouTube channels, obviously. Superstar Money, Omi Daily Burn. Follow them on Twitter. What do you guys want to say on the way out?
I mean, it just means that we got to come back if we didn't finish all your questions at some point.
Yeah.
So no, appreciate you having us on. Love the new show, and hopefully we start to see some Omi utility. I know we talked a lot about Omi today, so hopefully we start to see from a little bit from that, and Veve verse the beta. Hopefully we see that growing by the end of the year, and we can talk about where they are maybe early in the new year and recap.
Yeah, you know, Danny. Again, thank you for doing this stream. I think again, everybody who is interested in this space, never be scared to, if you want to do these kind of things. Danny's been around for a long time, but anybody watching, if you want to start a channel, we've been doing this now every single day for like, I don't even know anymore. Was it 600
crazy,
days?
Man. What a grind.
For 600 days. So if you
Over
ever want to
600.
talk, we can talk. All right. If you want to, we have a lot of ideas. So if you want to talk, we can talk. So thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. And kind of to finish my point before.
Yeah.
That was what I was saying. It was the 310 billion Omi. You got about 60 billion that are owned by the top 2 guys, Dave and Dan. But with the rest of that, I mean, like you have a lot concentrated with these other Omi billionaires and stuff like that. But going along with that, there's only about 20, I think it was about 20 billion in the app right now. Bringing that stuff in the app would really generate
stickiness.
Have it. Stickiness, and actually keeping it on level 2, bringing it all in. There's gases in there and everything. So bringing that all in the app will allow people to be able to actually use that in the app and have it in a Veveverse and things like that. So I just want to see the Veveverse and be able to have something by the end of the year. Basically, have a Veveverse Christmas present here. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for.
Do this in the
year.
MCP was last Christmas, man.
That's basically what I'm hoping for. By the end of the year, you actually see visuals of it, and actually that's what going to kickstart something.
Yeah.
Especially with Omi and your collectibles, and basically as a whole. Everybody's been waiting for it for a while. So hopefully they're perfecting it, now getting it all together. But that's basically where I'm going to leave it at that.
Nice. Thanks, guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Catch you guys next week. No Bull episode 3. Peace.